As most of you probably already know, there has been some massive drama going on in the HSR community lately, but what a lot of people seem to forget is that this is not just about HSR anymore. Other Hoyoverse games like Genshin and ZZZ might also suffer from this problem in the future, and if that happens, it's going to be a really bad future, not just for the Hoyoverse games themselves, but also for the people who play them. Now, why am I saying that? Well, the problem goes much deeper than some of you might think, so let me explain. Alright, so first of all, if you already know what's going on in the HSR community, then you can skip this part, but for those who don't know what exactly happened in the HSR community that caused this massive outrage, they basically released a character that kind of breaks the game. Castorice. She is the first character in any Hoyo game that gives an account-wide buff. This account-wide buff allows her to revive dead characters during combat for one more turn, even if she's not on the team. If this was Genshin, for example, it would mean that once your active character reaches 0 HP, instead of simply dying, the character would stay alive for a few more seconds while having 0 HP, and then after a few seconds of being kept alive by the buff, your character would actually be dead. And all that just by having Castorice on your account. So even if she's not on the team, she would be able to give your characters a few more seconds of extra life, no matter where and when. Sounds like a pretty cool mechanic, right? So why is this even a problem? And what does this have to do with Genshin or ZZZ? Well, the problem is that mechanics like these could evolve into a very bad direction, where you would have to spend a lot more money to actually enjoy the game. Let me explain. For now, it's just Hoyoverse trying to see how far they can actually go with these kind of methods. For now, it's just one character, and for now, it's just one character that has this account-wide buff. But if players fall for this bait and pull out their wallets for her, Hoyoverse would realize how much money they can make by doing this, and therefore, characters with these kinds of mechanics would become a lot more frequent, and the games would start to consist of nothing but multiple characters that are all just constantly power creeping each other. For now, it's just HSR, and it's just one character who works like that. But if this turns out to be successful, this kind of stuff could translate to Genshin and ZZZ as well. It doesn't have to be immediately. In fact, it's much more likely to work for them if they do it later on rather than as soon as possible. Let's say we are in version 3.1 of ZZZ, for example. By then, you already spend a bunch of money on the game, you already spend a lot of time with it, you've put a lot of work into your account, and suddenly this happens. They start power creeping all the old characters, and they start to release characters that give account-wide buffs instead of just team-wide buffs, making your old characters absolute dogshit compared to the new ones. Now here's the thing. Normally, if a game turns out to be dogshit, you simply stop playing it and delete it. But in this case, since you already spent so much money on it and you put so much investment into your account, quitting the game would make you feel like you wasted all these years for nothing. And by that point, they got you. On one hand, you're not having fun with the game because your old characters are too weak now, and on the other hand, if you want to have fun with this game again and you want to keep up, you will have to pull for the new characters whether you like it or not. Of course, you could also just quit the game, but that would mean that all the time and money you've put into your account would go to waste. It is an incredibly smart strategy that they use to keep you glued to their games, simply because of the way it impacts the way you think. Now, does that mean that all gacha games are bad and you shouldn't play them at all? Obviously not. But since these games are already very time consuming by default, depending on how much of them you play, you should at least try to avoid pay-to-win games at all costs. Well, unless you're some kind of millionaire, of course. Anyway, the reason I'm saying this is because HSR, for example, is slowly starting to turn more and more into a pay-to-win game with each new update. And since HSR is a Hoyoverse game, we should keep in mind that these pay-to-win mechanics could be implemented into Genshin or ZZZ as well, since both of these games are also from Hoyoverse, just like HSR. Now, of course, there are different teams working on Genshin and different teams working on HSR, but the CEO remains the same. If Castorice makes him a huge amount of money, it's just a matter of time until he will try to implement this strategy into Genshin and ZZZ. Anyway, with all that being said, what can we do about it? Is there a way to even fix this? Well, I'm gonna be honest, for the most part, it just depends on China. Because unfortunately, Hoyoverse does not give a single fuck about any complaints unless it's from the Chinese player base. Of course, we could try to boycott them or some shit, but let's be honest, this will not work at all. Like, no matter how many videos you make on this topic or how much you try to convince people, it won't work. Unless it's Kuro Games, because unlike the racist fucking Hoyoverse devs, Kuro Games actually cares about their player base, no matter if they're from China or not. Anyway, with all that being said, I just hope that Hoyoverse doesn't take this path, and I really hope they don't ruin Genshin, and especially ZZZ, because honestly, I'm absolutely loving this game right now. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys think about this topic, let me know what you guys think about the future of Hoyo games, and as always, I wish everyone a nice and wonderful day.